Look closely at this bill. It looks like money, but it's actually a crime scene. We've been told that inflation is just a natural disaster, like a storm we have to endure. But that is a lie. Inflation is the calculated theft of your time and your life. Wall Street isn't a marketplace anymore. It's a protection racket run by men in expensive suits. They print the cash, they buy the assets, and they leave you to pay the bill with a dying currency. The dollar isn't just losing value. It is being murdered from the inside out. If you feel like you're running faster just to stay in the same place, correct, it's because the system was designed to keep you trapped. But the collapse of the dollar doesn't have to mean the collapse of your future. There is a way out, a blueprint for those willing to see the truth. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how the heist works and give you the step-by-step manual to become your own bank before the crash. It's time to stop being a victim and start being sovereign. Let's dive in.
Have you ever looked at the dollar bill in your pocket and realized you are holding a ticking time bomb? It's a haunting question, but one we can no longer afford to ignore. We are often told that inflation is just an inevitable byproduct of a growing economy, a natural disaster like a hurricane or an earthquake that we simply have to endure. But what if I told you that inflation isn't just a rise in prices? It is the systematic, calculated theft of your time. Every hour you spend working for a currency that loses its value is an hour of your life that was stolen by design. This isn't a series of unfortunate economic events. It is a crime scene, and the fingerprints of the perpetrators are all over your bank statement. You see, the mainstream narrative wants you to believe that financial crises are accidents, the result of market volatility, or unforeseen global shifts. They use complex jargon to make you feel like you aren't smart enough to understand the science of monetary policy. But the truth is much simpler and far more sinister. When you strip away the Ivy League degrees and the expensive Italian suits, you find that the current financial system functions exactly like a mafia protection racket. Only this time, the scheme is protected by the very laws meant to safeguard the public. If a local gang demanded a cut of your earnings just for protection, you'd call it extortion. When the central bank devalues your purchasing power to bail out failing institutions, they call it quantitative easing. Have you ever felt that no matter how hard you work, you're just running faster to stay in the same place? That sense of frustration isn't in your head. It's the intended outcome of a business model built on white-collar crime. Wall Street isn't just a marketplace. It has become the operating room for a global architectural heist. Stay with me until the end, because the blueprint I'm about to reveal will change the way you look at every transaction you make. We have been conditioned to trust the lords of finance, but history shows that the collapse of a currency is rarely a sudden crash. It is a slow, deliberate bleeding of the middle class to keep the elite on life support. This is the blueprint for the survival of the few at the expense of the many. What you are about to discover might shock you, but it is the essential truth needed to navigate the coming dollar collapse. We aren't looking at a failure of the system. We are looking at the system working exactly as it was intended. The dollar isn't just dying of old age, it's being liquidated by the same people who issued it. Think about the scale of this deception. They've convinced us that paper with no intrinsic value is the ultimate store of wealth, while they accumulate hard assets that actually matter. It is a shell game of unprecedented proportions, where the house always wins and the players don't even realize they are being cheated. As we dig deeper into the architects of corruption, the distinction between a high-frequency trader and a street-level racketeer begins to vanish. The methods are different, but the goal is the same: taking what isn't yours through coercion and manipulation. But as the facade begins to crack and the global trust in the dollar reaches a breaking point, the blueprint for survival becomes clearer. It starts with identifying the crime before the final blow is dealt, because the moment the world realizes the vault is empty, the rules of the game will change forever. Now I know hearing this can feel like a punch to the gut. It brings up a mix of anger and realization that is hard to shake off, largely because we've been gaslit for so long into thinking our financial struggles are just bad luck. If what I've just shared resonates with you, if you can feel that tightening grip on your own finances or have noticed how your hard-earned money buys less and less every single month, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below telling me, do you think the system is past the point of no return, or is there still a way out? Your voice genuinely matters in this conversation because, let's be honest, the mainstream media certainly isn't asking for your opinion on the destruction of your wealth. And if you believe this message needs to reach more people who are still asleep at the wheel, go ahead and hit that like button right now. It might seem like a small action, but it's the most powerful signal we have to tell the algorithm that we value uncomfortable truths over comforting lies. By subscribing to the channel, you're not just watching another video, you're joining a growing community of critical thinkers who refuse to be blind to history. Your participation is exactly what fuels this channel and allows us to keep digging where others won't, ensuring we can continue to bring you the content that the financial establishment would prefer to keep buried. So, with our eyes wide open and our community growing stronger, let's peel back the next layer of this deception. To understand the sheer magnitude of what we are dealing with, we have to strip away the veneer of respectability that surrounds the financial district. We are conditioned to view men in sharp suits walking into glass towers as the pillars of our economy, the guardians of stability. But let's adjust our focus and look at the hidden truth behind those revolving doors. If you study the structure of organized crime families from the 1920s and compare it to the modern banking cartel, the similarities are not just striking, they are structural. The only real difference is that one uses intimidation and violence, while the other uses legislation and complex financial instruments. The old-school mobster would walk into a shop and demand a protection fee to ensure the shop didn't burn down. It was extortion, plain and simple. Today, the banking system extracts its own protection fee, but they call it interest and inflation. You are forced to use their currency, forced to keep your money in their digital ledgers, and forced to watch the value of your labor erode because of their reckless gambling. It is a mandatory participation in a game where the rules are rigged against you, and opting out is nearly impossible without a radical shift in mindset. This brings us to the most brilliant and devastating trick in their playbook, a concept that fundamentally defines the architecture of modern corruption: the privatization of profits and the socialization of losses. This is the heartbeat of the legal Ponzi scheme. In a true free market, the kind they love to preach about in university lecture halls, risk and reward are supposed to be linked. If you take a massive risk and succeed, you reap the rewards. If you fail, you bear the cost. That is the natural law of economics. But Wall Street has successfully lobbied to delete the second half of that equation. When these too-big-to-fail institutions make risky bets, gambling with pension funds and savings accounts on derivatives that no one truly understands, and they win, the profits are strictly private. The executives take home 8-figure bonuses, they buy the penthouses, they purchase the yachts, and they celebrate their genius. It is a journey of excess that most people can't even fathom. But what happens when the bet goes wrong? What happens when the house of cards collapses, as we saw in 2008 and are seeing signs of again? That is when the narrative suddenly shifts. Suddenly, their failure is no longer a private business matter. It becomes a systemic risk that threatens the entire global economy. They turn to the government, which is effectively turning to you, the taxpayer, and say, if we go down, we take everyone with us. And so the losses are socialized. The government prints trillions of dollars to plug the holes in their balance sheets. Who pays for that printing? You pay for it every time you go to the grocery store and see that the price of eggs has doubled. You pay for it when the dream of owning a home moves further out of reach. They keep the bonuses from the good years, and you absorb the catastrophic costs of the bad years. It is a backstage reality that turns the concept of capitalism on its head. It is welfare for the wealthy, funded by the destruction of the middle class. This isn't just unfair, it is a calculated transfer of wealth from the productive many to the parasitic few. We need to have a serious revelation about what the actual product of Wall Street is. Walk into a bank, and they will talk to you about investment, growth, and security. They sell you the idea that they are stewards of your future. But if you look at their balance sheets, if you look at what actually drives their profit margins, you will realize that their true product is debt. They don't manufacture cars, they don't build houses, they don't grow food. They manufacture IOU. Their entire business model relies on keeping individuals, corporations, and governments in a perpetual state of indebtedness. A debt-free society would be a nightmare for Wall Street because their power comes from the interest stream. They need you to be on the hamster wheel, servicing debt, because that flow of money is the lifeblood of their impact on the world. They package this debt, slice it up, resell it, and bet on it. They have turned the financial obligations of the working class into a casino chip. This perspective is essential because it changes how you make decisions. Once you understand that the system is designed to extract wealth rather than generate it for you, you stop looking to them for solutions. You realize that the inflation eating away at your savings isn't a mistake, it's a feature. It is the engine that keeps the scheme running. They need the currency to lose value so that the real value of the massive debts they owe decreases over time, while the asset prices of the things they own, like stocks and real estate, inflate artificially. It is a magic trick where the audience gets poorer while clapping for the magician. The transformation of the American economy from a manufacturing powerhouse to a financialized debt hub was not an accident. It was the result of this blueprint taking hold. The emotional toll of this is heavy because it feels like a betrayal. We are raised to trust these institutions. We are told that if we work hard, save money, and play by the rules, we will be okay. But the truth is that the people running the show stopped playing by those rules decades ago. They created a separate tier of justice where fraud is punished with a fine that is merely a fraction of the profit made from the crime. It's simply the cost of doing business. When you realize this, the anger you feel is justified, but it must be channeled into understanding. We are watching a slow-motion demolition of the social contract. The criminal element isn't hiding in a dark alley, it's drafting policy in the daylight. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because understanding who the players are is only the first step. We need to understand the mechanics of the flow itself. There is a specific phenomenon that dictates exactly who gets rich and who gets poor when the money printer turns on, and it's not random. It explains why the gap between the rich and the poor isn't just widening, but accelerating at a pace that defies logic. But before we get there, I want to know if you are tracking with me on this comparison. If this analogy of the suit and tie mafia resonates with your view of the world, go down to the comments right now and type, "I see the strings." Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because there is a specific mechanism that explains exactly how this theft occurs without them ever setting foot inside your home. We often hear the word inflation tossed around by politicians and economists as if it were a blanket phenomenon, something that covers the economy equally like snow falling on a city. They tell us that prices are rising because the economy is heating up or due to supply chain issues. While those factors play a role, they are distractions from the hidden truth of how money actually enters the system. This isn't random, it is a game of positioning, and understanding it requires us to look at a concept discovered by an economist named Richard Cantillon back in the 18th century. It's called the Cantillon Effect, and once you understand it, you will never look at a price tag the same way again. The core realization here, the one that shifts your mindset from confusion to clarity, is that money is not neutral. When the Federal Reserve prints $1 trillion, that money doesn't magically appear in everyone's bank accounts at the exact same moment. If it did, it wouldn't matter much. We'd all just add a zero to our bills and move on. But that's not what happens. The money enters the system at a specific entry point, and this creates a distinct advantage for the people standing at the door. Imagine a river. The Federal Reserve is the source, the spring from which the water flows. Standing right there at the source with their cups ready are the big commercial banks, the massive corporations, and the government itself. When the water, the new money, flows out, it is crystal clear. It has full purchasing power. These first receivers take this fresh cash and they go shopping. But here is the critical part. They are shopping in a market where prices haven't risen yet. No one else knows this new money exists. So they buy up stocks, they buy up prime real estate, they acquire other companies, and they secure hard assets at today's prices using tomorrow's inflated currency. This is the backstage reality of the boom cycle. They are artificially driving up demand, boosting the value of their own portfolios, and making themselves look like geniuses. But as they spend that money, it begins to circulate. It moves from the banks to the corporations, then to the contractors, and slowly, agonizingly, it trickles down to the rest of the economy. By the time this money reaches you, in the form of your salary, a small business loan, or a government stimulus check, the journey is complete, but the damage is done. The water is no longer clear. It's muddy. The currency has been diluted. Why? Because by the time the money hits your bank account, the market has reacted to all that spending done by the elites. The prices of houses have skyrocketed. The stock market is at an all-time high, making it expensive for you to enter. And the cost of groceries has crept up. You are receiving the money last, which means you are paying the highest prices. They bought the assets when they were cheap. You are forced to buy the necessities when they are expensive. This is the transformation of wealth in real time, a direct transfer of purchasing power from the poor and the middle class to the financial elite. This explains why, during periods of massive money printing, you see the strange phenomenon of the stock market hitting record highs, while the average person is struggling to put food on the table. It's not a paradox. It's the Cantillon Effect in action. They are drinking the clean water at the source and leaving the sludge for everyone downstream. This mechanism forces you to make terrible decisions just to survive. You stop saving because saving feels like a losing game. You take on debt because interest rates are artificially low. You speculate on risky assets because safe investments yield nothing. The system is designed to force you out on the risk curve, while the insiders take the sure bets. And we have to talk about the impact this has on the dollar itself. We are currently witnessing a historic acceleration of this process. The system has become addicted to this cheap money. In the past, they might have turned on the printer to smooth over a rough patch. Now the printer is the only thing keeping the engine running. They are printing trillions not to build bridges or factories, but to cover the massive holes in their own balance sheets, holes created by their own gambling. They are printing to pay the interest on the debt they created. It is a snake eating its own tail. Every time they inject more liquidity to save the market, they are essentially diluting the shares of the company called the United States of America. If you own dollars, you are a shareholder, and your shares are being watered down to pay bonuses to the management. This is why the dollar is dying. It isn't being murdered by foreign enemies, it is committing suicide by excess. The currency is losing its ability to function as a store of value because the supply is being manipulated to serve the few at the expense of the many. The revelations coming out of the bond markets and the central banks all point to the same conclusion. They cannot stop. If they stop printing, the asset bubbles burst and the elite lose their fortunes. If they keep printing, the dollar collapses and the people lose their livelihoods. They have chosen their path. They will protect the assets, not the currency. This brings us to a terrifying realization about the fragility of the entire structure. If the foundation of our money is trust, and that trust is being exploited by a mathematical theft that drains the lifeblood of the working class, how long can the facade hold? We are seeing the cracks everywhere. The desperation you feel in the economy, the frantic pace of life, the inability to get ahead. These are the symptoms of a currency that is being debased to death. But knowing how they are doing it is the ultimate weapon. It stops you from blaming yourself for not working hard enough and helps you see the battlefield clearly. This leads us directly to the signs that the endgame is approaching. History has a rhythm, and if you listen closely, you can hear the drums beating. We are not in uncharted territory. We are following a script that has played out in empires before us. But before we look at the specific signals that the collapse is imminent, I want you to engage with this reality. If you are tired of being downstream, if you are tired of drinking the muddy water while they feast at the source, I want you to leave a specific comment below. Type, "I want the clean water." Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because if we want to understand where we are going, we have to look at the map of where we have been. History doesn't repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes with a terrifying precision. We often fall into the trap of American exceptionalism, the mindset that we are somehow special, that the laws of economic gravity don't apply to the United States because we have the biggest military and the biggest economy. But if you walk through the ruins of history, you find the skeletons of empires that thought the exact same thing right before they collapsed. This isn't about doom and gloom, it's about pattern recognition. The truth is that the death of a currency is the most predictable event in the life cycle of a nation. Yet it always catches the masses by surprise. Let's look at the Roman Empire. Before the barbarians were at the gates, the rot had already started from within. To fund their massive wars and their lavish public spending, the bread and circuses meant to keep the population docile, the emperors started clipping the coins. They mixed the silver with cheaper metals like copper. It was the ancient version of the money printer. The people noticed that their money didn't buy as much wheat or land as it used to, but the party went on. Then look at the Weimar Republic in Germany. We've all seen the pictures of kids playing with stacks of cash because the paper was cheaper than a toy. But before the wheelbarrows of money, there was a period where the stock market soared and the elite partied in Berlin. It felt like a boom before it became a bust. Or look at Venezuela in our own time, a country sitting on the largest oil reserves in the world, yet its people are starving. These aren't accidents. They are the mathematical result of the same bad decisions we are making right now. The United States is currently displaying every single symptom of late-stage currency collapse, and the impact of this is starting to crack the foundation of our daily lives. The first and most glaring signal is the debt. We are looking at a national debt that has spiraled into numbers that the human brain can barely comprehend. We aren't talking about billions anymore. We are talking about tens of trillions. But here is the hidden truth that isn't discussed on the evening news. This debt is mathematically unpayable. We have reached a point where the interest payments on our national debt are threatening to consume the entire federal budget. We are borrowing money just to pay the interest on the money we already borrowed. It is a death spiral. In any other context, this is called bankruptcy. In Washington, they call it raising the debt ceiling. It's a farce, a theatrical performance designed to keep the illusion alive just a little bit longer. But the financial rot is only one side of the coin. The other side is geopolitics. For decades, the US dollar had a superpower: trust. It was the global reserve currency. If you wanted to buy oil, you needed dollars. This created a permanent demand for our currency, allowing us to export our inflation to the rest of the world. But that trust has been shattered. We weaponized the dollar. We started using the global financial system as a tool of war, freezing assets and locking nations out of the banking system if they didn't agree with our politics. While this might feel like a power move in the short term, the long-term impact is devastating. We told the world, your money is safe with us unless we decide it isn't. The result? The world is moving on. We are seeing a massive transformation in the global order. Countries are buying gold at record rates. Nations are forming new alliances, like the BRICS, specifically to trade outside of the dollar system. They are building a lifeboat because they can see our ship is sinking. They are making the decisions to protect themselves from our recklessness. As the global demand for dollars drops, all those trillions of dollars that are currently overseas will come flooding back home. And when that flood hits our shores, the hyperinflation we read about in history books won't just be a story. It will be our reality. This brings us to the central thesis of this entire investigation, the uncomfortable revelation that ties everything together. We have to look at the economy as a biological organism. The productive economy, the small businesses, the factories, the workers, the farmers, is the host. It creates value, it builds, it nurtures. The financial sector, specifically the predatory model of Wall Street and the central banking system, is the parasite. In nature, a parasite can exist within a host for a long time without killing it. It takes just enough blood to survive, but leaves the host enough energy to keep hunting and gathering. But we have reached the terminal phase. The parasite has grown too large. It has become greedy. The financial economy is now dwarfing the real economy. The speculation is worth more than the production. The parasite is sucking so much blood that the host is going into organ failure. You see this in the decay of our infrastructure, the homelessness in our cities, the exhaustion of the American worker who needs 3 jobs just to survive. The host is dying because it can no longer support the appetite of the parasite. This system of financialization, where money makes money without creating anything real, has reached its mathematical limit. The crime has gone on for so long that the victim is flatlining. This is why the volatility is increasing. This is why the politics are becoming more polarized. It's the fever of a dying patient. The journey of the US dollar, from a gold-backed guarantee of value to a weaponized political tool, is coming to an end. The scary part isn't that the system will change. The scary part is that most people are still operating under the old rules. They are saving in a currency that is designed to melt. They are trusting institutions that have sold them out. They are standing on the train tracks, staring at the light of the oncoming train, and convincing themselves it's just the sunrise. But for those who are willing to look at the backstage reality, the signs are flashing red. The bond market is screaming. The central banks are panic buying gold. The smart money is quietly exiting the theater while telling you to stay in your seat. Recognizing this doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist. It makes you a rational observer of a collapsing model. We are witnessing the end of an era. The specific blueprint of how to survive this, how to take this knowledge and turn it into armor for you and your family, is what we need to focus on next. We need to shift from diagnosis to treatment. But before we get to the solution, we have to acknowledge the severity of the problem. If you feel that shift, if you can sense that the economy is no longer working for the people but feeding off them, I want you to leave a mark in the comments. Type, "I am awake." So where do we run? If the building is on fire, you don't stand around debating the cause of the spark. You look for the exit. We have established that the dollar is a currency based entirely on trust, a fiat promise from a government that has broken that trust repeatedly. When the criminals in suits have compromised the vault, leaving your money there is no longer a conservative strategy. It is a reckless gamble. The solution requires a radical shift in mindset. We have to stop thinking in terms of making more dollars and start thinking in terms of accumulating real value. This is the distinction between political money and hard money. Political money, like the dollar, the euro, or the yen, is controlled by people. It is elastic. It can be expanded at the whim of a central banker who wants to hide a deficit or pump up a stock market. Its value is dictated by policy, not physics. Hard money, on the other hand, is immune to politics. It cannot be printed. It cannot be debased by a committee meeting in Washington, D.C. It is the only shield you have against the theft of inflation. This transformation of your portfolio begins with the asset that has been the enemy of bankers for centuries: gold. There is a reason why central banks around the world, even as they tell you gold is a barbarous relic, are buying it at the fastest pace in 50 years. They know the hidden truth. They know that when the music stops, gold is the only chair left in the room. Gold is not an investment in the traditional sense. It doesn't pay dividends or interest. It is insurance. It is a store of energy that has survived every empire, every dictator, and every failed currency in human history. When you hold physical gold, you are holding an asset that has no counterparty risk. If the bank fails, your gold is still gold. If the internet goes down, your gold is still gold. It is the ultimate silent protest against a corrupt system. It forces the system to be honest because you cannot fake it. You can print a paper receipt for gold, but you cannot print the metal itself. For thousands of years, it has been the anchor of reality in a sea of financial delusions. But we are living in a digital age, and the journey to sovereignty has evolved. This brings us to the technological exit from the system: Bitcoin. If gold is the ancient fortress, Bitcoin is the high-speed escape tunnel. It represents a separation of money and state. For the first time in history, we have a form of money that is truly decentralized, scarce, and unseizable. The suit and tie mafia hates it because they cannot control it. They cannot call a CEO to shut it down. They cannot dilute the supply to bail out their friends. The math is the law, and the math doesn't care about politics. Bitcoin is the only asset in the world with a strictly finite supply that you can send anywhere on the planet without asking for permission. It is the plan B for a digital world where privacy and property rights are under attack. Holding it is a vote of no confidence in the central banks. It is a way to opt out of their casino and play a game where the rules are fixed and transparent. However, survival isn't just about digital codes or precious metals. It is also about tangible utility. This brings us to the third pillar of the blueprint: land and real estate. At the end of the day, we are physical beings. We need a place to sleep, to grow food, to exist. When the currency collapses, the things that matter are the things that sustain life. Land is the ultimate finite asset. They can print the money to buy the mortgage, but they cannot print the land underneath the house. Owning productive land, whether it's a rental property that generates cash flow or a few acres where you can be self-sufficient, is a way to anchor your wealth in the physical world. It provides a utility that paper money never can. It is a hedge against the chaos of the financial markets because regardless of what the exchange rate of the dollar is, the land remains. It is a legacy asset, that survives the storm. The core philosophy here is simple but revolutionary. You must become your own bank. The system we have described, the one built on corruption and debt, relies on you being dependent. It relies on you keeping your wealth in their ledgers, eating their inflation, and accepting their meager interest rates. The revelations of the past few years have shown us that custody is everything. If you don't hold the keys, you don't own the coins. If you don't hold the metal, you just own a promise. The goal of this blueprint is to minimize your exposure to their promises and maximize your ownership of reality. This is not an easy path. It requires taking responsibility. It requires learning new skills. It requires making decisions that go against the herd. But the alternative is to stay on the sinking ship and hope the captain cares about you, which, as we've seen, he does not. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because adopting this strategy isn't just about buying things. It's about a fundamental change in how you interact with the world. When you start saving in hard assets, you stop looking at the price of things in dollars. You stop caring if the stock market is up or down today, because you know the game is rigged anyway. You start measuring your wealth in ounces, in satoshis, in acres. You begin to see the boom and bust cycles not as opportunities to gamble, but as traps to avoid. This creates a sense of peace that is impossible to find within the fiat system. You are no longer chasing the inflation rate. You have stepped outside of it. You have built a personal economy that operates on sound principles, regardless of the madness happening in the broader economy. The impact of this shift goes beyond your bank account. It changes your time preference. When your money holds value, you can plan for the future. You can build for the next generation. The crime of inflation is that it forces us to live in the now, to consume immediately because our money is melting. Hard money restores the ability to build a legacy. It allows you to opt out of the rat race and focus on what truly matters. It is the ultimate act of rebellion against a system that wants to keep you on the hamster wheel forever. The blueprint is clear. Exit the fiat system, enter the real world, and secure your sovereignty before the gates close. The question is no longer will it happen, but am I prepared? The tools are available. The knowledge is out there. The only variable left is your willingness to act. This isn't just about financial survival. It's about preserving your freedom in an age of control. If you feel the weight of this truth, and if you are ready to take the steps to secure your own independence, I want to see who is standing with us. Go to the comments and write, "I am becoming my own bank." There is a profound psychological shift that happens when you finally stop looking at the economy through the lens of the evening news and start seeing it through the lens of history. We often equate preparedness with pessimism. If you talk about buying gold, storing food, or moving assets out of the banking system, people might look at you like you are a doomer, hoping for the apocalypse. But let's reframe this mindset immediately. Is the person who puts on a seatbelt before driving a pessimist who expects to crash? Is the person who buys fire insurance for their home hoping it burns down? Of course not. They are realists. They understand that the world is unpredictable, and they make decisions to protect what they love. Understanding the mechanics of the dollar collapse isn't about living in fear. It is about living in truth. It is the ultimate antidote to anxiety, because anxiety comes from the unknown. When you know exactly how the crime is committed, you stop being a victim of it and start becoming a strategist. This transformation from victim to sovereign is the most dangerous thing you can do to the establishment. The system thrives on your dependency. It needs you to be scared, confused, and desperate for a government handout. When you are living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt and relying on the state to solve your problems, you are easily controlled. But the moment you take custody of your own wealth, the moment you step outside their rigged casino, you become ungovernable. The greatest act of rebellion against a corrupt financial system is not marching in the street with a cardboard sign. It isn't shouting at politicians on social media. The backstage reality is that they don't care about your protests as long as you are still using their currency. The true revolution is quiet. It is the family that pays off their debt. It is the individual who stacks silver. It is the community that trades locally. It is the act of prospering independently of their rules. It is looking at the suit and tie mafia and saying, "I don't need your protection anymore." This journey towards sovereignty changes everything about how you live. You stop waking up in a cold sweat, wondering what the Federal Reserve is going to do next, because you have positioned yourself so that it doesn't matter. If they print another $1 trillion, your hard assets will simply reprice higher to account for the inflation. You have immunized your life against their irresponsibility. This is the hidden truth about wealth preservation. It is not about making a profit. It is about maintaining your purchasing power while the world around you loses theirs. The impact of this cannot be overstated. While the masses are panic selling at the bottom or fear buying at the top, you are sitting still, anchored by assets that have stood the test of time. You are operating from a place of strength rather than weakness. We have to accept a harsh reality. The dollar may die. It has a life cycle, just like the Roman denarius or the French assignat. No paper currency has ever lasted forever. But here is the revelation that should give you hope. The dollar may die, but your patrimony does not need to die with it. Your hard work, your sacrifices, the energy you have stored up for your family's future, that does not have to vanish just because the measuring stick breaks. If you measure a table with a ruler and the ruler shrinks, the table is still the same size. The dollar is just the ruler. If you hold real assets, you still own the table. If you hold dollars, you only own the shrinking ruler. This distinction is what separates the survivors from the casualties of financial history. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because there is a spiritual component to this independence that we rarely discuss. When you detach your well-being from the health of a corrupt system, you reclaim your dignity. You are no longer rooting for the bubble to keep inflating just so your 401k looks good. You are no longer complicit in the lie. You can look at the architects of corruption with clear eyes and see them for what they are. Not masters of the universe, but desperate managers of a failing scheme. This clarity allows you to build a life based on production and value, rather than speculation and debt. It allows you to focus on what you can control, your skills, your relationships, your assets, rather than stressing over what you can't control, like interest rates or geopolitical wars. The decisions you make today are the seeds of the forest your children will walk through. If you choose to ignore the signs, you are choosing to leave them a legacy of debt and dependence. But if you choose to act, if you choose to study the blueprint and implement it, you are building an ark. You are creating a fortress of solitude in a chaotic world. This isn't just about money, it's about freedom. Money is just the tool we use to trade our time. If they steal your money through inflation, they are stealing your time. By protecting your money, you are reclaiming your time, your life. This is the ultimate impact of financial sovereignty. It buys you the option to say no. No to a job you hate. No to a location you despise. No to a system that demands your compliance. As we move toward the final pieces of this puzzle, I want you to reflect on your own position. Are you standing on the solid rock of real assets? Or are you building your house on the shifting sands of fiat currency? The tide is coming in, and the sand is washing away. The revelations we have covered, from the organized crime nature of Wall Street to the mathematical certainty of the debt collapse, are not meant to paralyze you. They are the map to higher ground. You have the knowledge now. The blindfold has been removed. The question is, do you have the courage to walk the path? This is a journey that is better taken together. We are building a community of people who refuse to be collateral damage in a banker's war. If you feel that fire in your belly, if you feel the shift from fear to determination, I want to know who is walking this path with us. I want you to confirm that you are moving from a passive observer to an active participant in your own rescue. Go to the comments right now and write, "I am reclaiming my future." We've covered a lot of ground today, and honestly, most people probably clicked off 10 minutes ago when the reality of this subject got a little too uncomfortable. But if you are still listening to my voice right now, it tells me something important about you. It tells me you aren't looking for comfortable lies. You're looking for the actionable truth, no matter how heavy it might be. That's exactly the kind of community we are building here. A group of people who are ready to look behind the curtain. If you want to make sure you don't miss the next briefing, and if you want to keep arming yourself with this kind of financial intelligence, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's the best way to ensure you're always one step ahead of the narrative. And if this message landed with you today, if you felt that spark of recognition, hitting the like button is just a quiet nod between us that we're on the right track. Since you are part of the few who actually finish what they start, I want to know who is really in the inner circle. Drop a comment down below saying, "Blueprint acquired." It helps me see who is truly paying attention. Now, understanding the collapse is the first step, but mastering the specific assets that thrive during the chaos is where the real work begins. I've got a video popping up on your screen right now that perfectly complements what we just discussed. It fills in the gaps we didn't have time for today. Click right there, and let's keep this conversation going.